Okay. Hold on.
Hey, let me see. Will you make my screen bigger so I can clean this up? I got a little mess on the right. Can't see it.
Okay, we're live. We're good.
Are we actually live?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I can still hear the music in the background.
Same. Sounds good.
Okay, now it's gone. All right, we're live. Well, hello everyone. How are we doing? Welcome to Tour Life. We are doing this on a new platform, so hopefully we are coming more crystal clear than ever before here in 2025 for your viewing pleasure, and hopefully we're sounding about the same as we did last year as well. But welcome back to Tour Life. We took a couple weeks off there around the holidays, but we're back, and today's January 7th, and we've got an interesting show today. Not a lot of different things happened in disc golf, but a lot of the same thing happened. And I'm talking about player movement. And it was from some of the more what would we say, surprising nature for some. We're still waiting to hear from some as well. But Yuli, how's it going, brother? How was your holidays?
It's going good. Holidays were fantastic. They went by super fast. It's cold here in South Carolina right now.
It's really cold here too, man.
We're
supposed to get 8 inches of snow on Thursday.
What?
I think the corgis are going to be under the snow. They're not 8 inches off the ground.
It's actually supposed to snow here, which it never does. Ever, apparently. I don't know. I've been living here for 4 years now, and it's never snowed, and it's supposed to snow this week. So it's been pretty cold. Other than that, I mean, things are great. The season's coming up quick, Brodie. It's coming up quick.
What is it, like 60 days or something like that?
Something, maybe that's probably about right. Yeah.
I thought I saw something that said like 60 days from now until the first event. And I don't even know if I'm going to the first event, to be quite frank with you.
Yeah, and it seems like it's just moving quick. Got a lot of things to do. It was weird not being on Tour Life for 2 weeks. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, bizarre. but we would have just basically had guests on because there wasn't really that much to talk about. Like, it's not nice really
to cleanse the palate. You know what I mean?
You know, we gave people 2 weeks off. You guys can, come back to us now and we can get after it. We do have some stuff to talk about. Mostly just player movement. A lot of player to discuss. And also a big announcement that happened was Will being named the CEO of Prodigy, which was a pretty large announcement, I think. And this was an interesting thing too. We talked a little bit about this on I'm forgetting. Size, what's the show? I'm forgetting.
Off season.
Thank you. My brain is absolutely in complete mush. We talked a little bit about this in off season, where I wonder if it's the small nature of disc golf, of where everyone kind of knows everyone type of vibe, where I just feel like other moves happen where you don't really know behind the scenes. You know a lot of behind the scenes stuff in disc golf, like the public does. A lot of stuff gets brought to the public. And I feel like maybe sometimes it might be best for some of that stuff to stay maybe a little bit behind the scenes. But we'll be having Will come on and discussing what does that look like for him? What does that look like for Prodigy? And it'll be interesting to see what he has. We had him on the show not that long ago, and we were talking about him potentially playing tournaments again. And now I think that probably is not going to happen because he's going to be very busy.
Yeah, he's going to be a little CEO over there at Prodigy. I don't think that includes the tour.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe he gets stuff running so good. Picture this. Just loads of money coming into Prodigy, big signings, and then all of a sudden he's just chilling on the couch, hire a bunch of people, and he says, "Hey, I'm going to pick the bag up again." You never know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm very curious to see how that all came about, and what does that look like on his end? Because we'll see how transparent he is, how much information he wants to give. But a lot of people right now are I would say like the stock is kind of declining on Prodigy. with some of their player moves that they've had. And it's always interesting because I think a lot of people, same thing with Innova, I think a lot of people will look at the ground level and just be like, oh, this company's falling apart. But, you know, if you look at the books, it could be telling a completely different story.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if you're a company, all you really care about is what the books say. And if the books are looking good, then it doesn't really matter if a handful of people are like, oh, these people are falling apart. They're not signing anyone. They're losing everyone. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't think Prodigy's in that spot. I think Innova is. I think Innova is doing very well. But I'm curious to see kind of what Prodigy is and what he plans to do to try to maybe get out of that hole. Maybe they're not in a hole. Maybe he'll tell us, hey, we're doing great. We're not in a hole at all, but we'll see about that. Do we know what time he's coming on, Silas?
Yeah, should be 8:30.
Okay. So before he comes on, Yuli, I'm just going to run through the list because there's really, like I said, outside of player movement, there's really not that many other stories to really talk about. There was the Jordan Castro story that came up, you know, when that suspension list came out on the PDGA and Jordan Castro's name was on there. A lot of people are questioning why was his name on there. Someone came out with a story saying that maybe he took some funds and stuff, and that's why he got suspended. There was that story. There was another person that was a employee of House of Disc that did an AMA on Reddit that kind of answered some questions from people about House of Disc. There wasn't really too much out there.
Just player movement. You're right. Yeah. Just people going from here to there. And yeah, some drama going on all over, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. I don't really have too much to say about the Jordan Castro. Like, don't steal money. Like, I think that's
pretty nice. Yeah. Hey, good words to live by there, man.
I think that's a pretty good one.
Solid.
And then the House of Disc situation, like, yeah, I think some people kind of got caught up in a lot of money coming into the company, and you see this too. I saw it a lot with Vine. Is you've got kids that are 18, 19, 20 years old making 6-second videos, and all of a sudden they go from, you know, working at McDonald's to now making 6 figures in a blink of an eye. You see people do stupid stuff when money comes in really quickly. It's human nature. And if you don't have smart, well-professional people at the top of your company, it's easy to make those mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of disc golf companies made dumb mistakes. I think that's what happened. And so I think some of the House of Disc stuff that they were saying, I thought some of the stuff they said about Ricky was interesting. Again, I've never heard that from Dynamic Disc. This is, again, just kind of like a person that used to work there, kind of giving his take on what was said. So I thought that was kind of interesting hearing some of the stuff they said about Ricky. But other than that, there's not too much about that story. Do you have anything else there?
No, I would say that, you know, big company comes in and buys all those companies. My mind goes to when you have a big company like that, I feel like if things aren't going well, you're going to get rid of people. That's just the way. And I think disc golf, you have people who are like, oh, so buddy, and it's like this family atmosphere, and that's not how corporate America works. And you mesh those two, and so I'm personally not surprised. And if those companies aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, it makes sense to me. Now, obviously, it sucks that they have to lay off a bunch of people. I mean, nobody wants to do that. I'm sure the people who laid them off didn't want to do it, but that's big business.
Yeah. You know, the family stuff is all nice. I've been in companies before where they'll tell you all that nice stuff. And it normally only exists when like things are going well. It's when things aren't going well and someone sticks their neck out for you or supports you or anything like that. That's when you can really tell when it's actually legit. But like you said, most of the time, these companies, hey, we're all one big family. We got each other's back. And it's like, as soon as something bad happens, all right, you're gone. You're fired. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, The guys up top are going to fire people before they get fired. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
You got to have a fall guy. You got to have a fall guy.
Exactly.
All right, so let's run through some of these off-season player movements. And like I said, how much more interesting would this be if there was actually team disc golf and these were actually players moving to potentially
I love it still.
help a team? Like, you know, it'd be very interesting. Actually, before we run into that, it is 2025. We wouldn't be able to do this podcast for two people. One, you listeners out there, and two, our sponsors. So with that, I'm going to shoot it over to Silas to give us a little shout out to our sponsor of today's podcast.
It's playoff time, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. For this week's picks, I'm taking Josh Allen more than 238.5 passing yards. I'm going to take Saquon Barkley more than 98.5 rushing yards. And I'm also going to take CJ Stroud. I'm going to take more on 0.5 passing touchdowns. Prize Picks makes it super easy to make your picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code TOURLIFE to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code TOURLIFE to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Talk about someone about to take your job. Silas is going to take my job reading the ads.
That was pretty good. Now, the picks, a little sus. The picks were a little sus. The ad read was solid. The ad read was solid.
Those were from like 2 weeks ago, though.
Okay.
Oh,
that's
so
when I
that
filmed
did
it.
they hit?
Shout through more
Stroud.
than a touchdown.
I forget which other. I forget the ones that I said. Honestly.
I don't think Saquon played, so that
No.
might have been a tough. That might have been a
tough.
tough one, Silas. That might have been a tough one. I don't really want to talk too much about football. I know you don't want to talk about football right now. Your team looks terrible.
We're in the playoffs. Get over yourself.
You
What are
guys look
talking
terrible.
What are
You
you
guys
talking
look
about?
terrible.
No, what's terrible is the teams that didn't make the playoff. We look better than those teams, so we look better than most of the league. We're gonna get absolutely demolished.
I would.
You know what? My mom's watching right now. She's a big Ravens fan, and man, I'm praying every single day for the biggest upset in playoff history. But I think we're gonna get trampled, just absolutely run over.
I'm starting to think that the Raiders organization, the problem is at the top. That's what I'm starting to think.
Really?
Yeah.
That's where we're going.
I mean, if you really start looking at what teams
Your
are
players
playing-
are not good. You don't have good players. You need a court in this league.
But
you need
who's
a
in
quarterback.
charge of making those decisions? That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
You got
you had quarterbacks and you were still awful.
you got to put it's got to be a culture. It's got to be a culture change for the Raiders situation. I mean, they just keep blaming the coach, getting rid of the coach, blaming the quarterback, throwing a new You look at the good organizations around town, and it's like it really is the top guys are making the right moves.
Yeah, you got to set a culture for sure.
All right. Speaking of culture, let's talk about players leaving, because that is one thing that happens a lot in disc golf.
Yeah.
Players just leaving, going to different ones. And I don't think there was a bigger surprise out there than the announcement that Jeremy Colling made when he said he was no longer going to be sponsored by Innova. This really caught the disc golf world by storm, surprised a lot of people, and left a lot of people with a lot of questions. This is an open invite to Germ. If if he's listening right now, or somehow someone tweets him, or I know you tried to call him earlier, if he wants to hop on tonight and talk and he's got something to say, we'd love to have him on. But I think that was a very surprising departure from Innova. You were with him most of the year with Jomez. There was some rumblings about him maybe taking a step back from touring and doing more of the commentary side. Is that kind of your vibe with this? Is that where you think this is going? It's not anything too crazy.
I mean, I don't want to go too much into it because I feel like we're so close. You know what I mean? I want to leave this stuff for him.
Sure.
But outside perspective, I don't know. I think Jeremy's one of those guys who's gonna just be kind of that tour guy for a very, very long time.
Okay.
I think that's where he lives. He's always lived on tour, kind of like myself. Like you're home away from home. I was really surprised with the move, honestly. I was really surprised. I mean,
This late in your career too.
exactly, to make a switch. But I'm also excited for him. Whatever it is, I know he'll make the best decision for himself, and I hope it's a good one. And I can't wait for him to make his announcement, and then we can really have him on here and kind of go
Okay.
through the details.
Yeah, I think there's two ways of looking at it, right? Like people are really terrified of change, right? That's human nature. We don't like change. We like kind of just being and doing the same that we know day in and day out. And then there's the other side too, is like eventually that does get a little boring and you kind of want to spice it up a little bit. Similar to what Simon said when he left Discmania to go to MVP. It was kind of a nice change of pace. And I'm curious whether maybe we see a little bit of that with Big Germ of like, you know what? I don't have to throw really at all in the off season. I know what all my discs do. I can just show up and play with my bag. Where now it's like I'm going to a new company. I get to try all these new discs out, figure out which ones I like, which one feels good, which one flies good. So it'll be interesting. And I mean, as soon as he can talk about it, would love to have him on the pod and hear his thoughts, because he's also been someone that's been around for a really long time, but he's been with the same, he's been with Innova for a very long time. So it'd be very interesting to hear, did he get an offer for someone else? And that's what got his like wheels spinning. Like, how did that all happen?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I feel like all those are valid things to think, but I also my mind always goes to like, how does whatever offer he gets, how does Innova not match that offer with this guy?
Well, that's
like you look at,
did they match? Did they offer that?
Yeah. I mean, why didn't they give him an offer he can't refuse?
Yeah, or that too.
I mean, we see players leaving and from their company, and when I looked at the star team, I mean, if he's on that star team, he's the one that stands out. Him and Nate Sexton, of course. And then
Calvin.
you got like Bradley Williams, great player.
Calvin,
great player.
Right? Calvin?
Yeah. No, I'm just going.
Yeah.
Of course, Calvin's their number one guy. That goes
Yeah.
without saying. But after that, you look at it. I think it was
Sexton,
like Philo, Sexton,
Germ.
Bradley Williams. Germ's the one that's on tour. He's the one that's on Jomez. He's really a fan favorite when it comes down to it. When we're on tour, how many people are following Germ? Always people.
No, for sure.
And that's tough to lose somebody like that. You know what I mean? That's tough to lose somebody like that. And
it definitely is, but I think these companies are starting to get smarter, and I think Innova is definitely one of the smartest, manufacturers out there.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, again, like we just talked about, if you really are going to try to make as much money as possible, which is what majority of companies in this world do, I'm sure they looked at the books, and I'm sure they looked to see what he was bringing in versus what they were paying. And, what if they can bring in a shiny new toy that is going to sell a lot more than maybe what he was doing? And maybe
so let's stop right there. So who's going to sell more than him out there? Who's even a remote free agent right now? Because that's a great point. I agree. Like you look across the map.
Well, let's get through all the names here, and then we can maybe see who still hasn't signed yet.
Okay.
Because that's a great question because they didn't just leave. I mean, Big Germ was the biggest name that left Innova outside of Climo, but Climo wasn't really doing too much, right? So it's not like I would say like he had a huge disc movement with Innova. He could have, but he wasn't doing any of that. So let's go through all the names that we have, and then maybe we missed some as well. Maybe we can read some of the chat. You guys let us know if there's any announcements that we missed or any departures that we missed. And then we can kind of at the end be like, okay, who are the names that are still
try to do like some trading?
Who's the names that still haven't announced yet, and where they can fit the gaps. So Big Jerb leaving Innova. Ezra Robinson joining Discraft. I believe that was a 2-year deal. And cool. I do want to say cool logo. The little peach pirate. Cool logo. And has like a little bit of backstory to it, I think, you know. So there's something there. I think Ezra, we've had him on the show a couple times. Definitely want to have him come back on to kind of explain it a little bit more too. But he's someone that seems like there's a lot more personality. There's a lot more to him than maybe he's shown or had the ability to show. So going to a Discraft that does a pretty good job of marketing their players, and especially like just getting players merchandise and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. All right. Isaac does announce his departure from Prodigy. I think we all saw this coming, Yuli. I think there's no surprise there. The other big kind of surpriser, Kayla Viska leaving Prodigy. That was the other one that was probably 1 and 2 with Big Germ.
Yeah.
Did you kind of hear rumblings about that? I didn't see that coming at all.
No, I mean, he's been a staple over there at Prodigy for the longest time, you know, outside perspective. For sure, you wouldn't think something like that. I mean, he's a huge seller of their baskets. He's big into course design. And that's one of their, you know, I feel like their kind of go-tos. You look at like the preserve and how well he's done with them over there using the baskets and everything. I don't know. It was definitely surprising. But then when you just kind of look at that landscape of how the company's been going the last few years, which I am excited to talk to Will kind of about that kind of stuff.
I'm curious if he has any intel on why Kale left.
Yeah. And then you kind of see the writing on the wall a little bit there with players. I mean, Will's the last one.
Yeah. Right.
He's the last one of the original, I think the original 12. So
yeah. So
it surprised me.
He did make a post though, you know, telling everyone, listen, this has nothing to do with Will being named CEO, because there was some, you know, speculation of whether or not Will being announced, maybe he felt like he was going to get that spot or whatever. But again, like it does leave questions whenever someone leaves on their own accord, or that's what they say, because we have seen some pros being like, I'm leaving, and it's like, well, they didn't really offer to resign you, so technically you're not really leaving.
Yeah.
We've seen that. But whenever a player does leave on their own accord, it always raises questions of like, why? You know, was there something better out there offering, you know, opportunity, or was it just time to go? We always want to know the why. We always want to know why. All right, moving on. We've got Emily Beach. Emily Beach doesn't resign with Innova, and because of that, is just deciding to step away from the tour. So, not a name that's always going to be at the top of the leaderboard, but
has some rounds though.
But yeah, exactly. Can put together some tournaments there. So that's another one where it's like, you know, Innova's probably looking at it being like, doesn't really do too much, so why are we going to pay? And right now in the market where we are in disc golf, not a lot of players are worth anything, as sad as it is.
Yeah,
they really aren't. So it's tough out there. AB, I don't know if we discussed this, but AB did sign a 3-year deal with Discraft. And then we've got 3 other players leaving Innova: Emerson Keith, Joel Freeman, and Nathan Queen. You know, Emerson Keith, Joel Freeman have won tournaments on tour. Emerson Keith had that crazy Worlds run.
Nathan Queen as well.
Nathan Queen won the tour championship, was a crazy tournament that he won from the very, very beginning, all leaving Innova. And again, this is where I think
that's a star team too. I don't know if Emerson was on the star team, but I do know that Joel was.
Yeah, this is just where it's tough.
Maybe,
because
that might not be right. I don't know. I don't remember.
Because all 3 of those guys are like solid pros. They're solid players. They're going to have good finishes throughout the year.
Oh, Joel was like top 10 every time a couple of years ago. Top 10 every time.
Joel had a season that he played well. Last season, I think, was maybe a little bit more of a down year for him. But again, it's like we talked about this a little bit on off season. It's like the tour really is moving more towards, can you sell plastic versus are you actually good at disc golf? Like if you're good at disc golf and you can sell plastic, that's a home run, right? If you're Simon Lizotte, if you're AB, Paul Macbeth, that's a home run. But like companies right now, they're starting to see like, why are we spending X amount of dollars on someone that's going to finish a couple places here, there, top 30 here, there. Like, why are we spending a lot of money on this person, but we're not really seeing a return, right? Like, wouldn't you rather just, if you're Innova, wouldn't you rather just put a lot more money into Calvin, who is really good at disc golf and sells a lot of discs?
I mean, I would hope.
That's what I'm thinking.
I would hope that would be their thought process. I would hope that they would think, okay, we don't need to sponsor all these players and we're going to give our good players even more money. I would hope that's the way that it is, but I'm not for sure that that's the way it is. And I can't, I haven't heard any rumors of something like that. Like, oh, we're getting rid of these players so we can pay this player more.
Remind me to ask Will that question, because I'm curious how they're going to look at players moving forward, because where I'm at right now, I think having one player that's worth $100,000 is better than having three players that are worth 30. Because those three players that are worth 30, you're probably not going to get 30 back from them.
How important is it to you, Brodie, to you, if you're Mr. CEO now of said company? How important is it to you for somebody to be on the lead card every single week on coverage? Is that important? Or does it not matter? I
think it's only important if they are actually moving plastic.
Well, I think that goes hand in hand with winning. If you win, you'll become popular. People want winning solves everything. People like you. People want to buy your stuff.
Winning helps. Winning helps.
Who wins all the time? Who doesn't sell anything? Tell me.
No, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Gannon sells less than AB. Gannon sells less than Simon. Gannon sells less than Paul. Isaac sells less than all those guys I listed.
Okay, so no.
There are guys.
Stop. How long has AB been around longer than Gannon? 4 years?
Oh, you think? Oh, okay. So you're saying time-wise?
Yeah. So what about in 4 years? Do you think he's going to sell more?
That I don't know.
If he keeps winning, there's almost, in my eyes, there's no way. If he keeps winning at this rate, there's no way there's going to be a more popular player to buy his stuff, because dominance sells everything, period.
It doesn't outsell everything. It does sell. I'm agreeing with you. Yeah. It does sell, but it doesn't outsell everything.
No, but I mean, who's going to outsell at that point? You see what I'm saying? Like, he's still going to be a top 5 most seller if he keeps winning like this. It's impossible to stop that.
No, I agree. No, I agree. What I'm saying though is there are certain players that like
a win here, a win there.
Correct.
Isn't going to help them.
If Gannon drops to a top 10 player, his sales drastically change, right?
Yes.
But if there's like multipliers, is what I'm thinking. Like if Gannon goes from like 5th in the world to 1st in the world, that multiplier is way smaller than like an AB. If an AB all of a sudden has a Gannon year, I think the multiplier is way up there. That's what I'm trying to say.
I mean, that's going to be everywhere with how marketed.
Yeah, there's just certain people
just have the kind of it factor. And I'm not saying that Gannon doesn't, because he's still developing.
Well, he's a kid. He's a kid.
Exactly.
He's not even, he doesn't 100%. Even know who he is as a person yet. When I was his age, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was sleeping on hotel floors playing ultimate frisbee.
Yeah.
So all right, there are other players that I do want to get to, but we do have Will, and I think Will's going to have a lot of intel on this, and definitely something we want to talk about. So let's bring him on here. The CEO, Mr. Big Time. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to jump on our little podcast, brother. Appreciate having you back.
What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Paul, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, man?
2025, man. I haven't seen you since last year. It's crazy.
Wild. Nice dad joke. That's a good one.
I'm getting up there. I can say dad jokes now. Okay, so first and foremost, how did the position come about? Was it something that you kind of put your name in the hat? Did someone come to you? How does that even work?
Yeah, and Paul's very familiar with Michael. Michael Sullivan is really the president of Prodigy. He's been him and Esther have been really the leaders of the company for a long time now, and they've been around. Some of my best friends. Really, I look at them like family. And to be honest, I had been kind of right there in line for quite a while. Kind of had the position unfilled for a couple months, to be honest, and getting into a good position. I've always been around with Prodigy, obviously traveling, touring, moving to Dalton, just taking up more responsibilities. It really felt like a natural progression. And they offered the position to me. I didn't put my hand out and say, hey, I would love that position. Like, that's going to be my thing. Like, they approached me and said, hey, now is a great opportunity, and we love to support you in this role as you're going into it. And I think that it was a good timing for it. So I'm really excited for the opportunity.
So what are some things that you're going to be doing now that you weren't doing in your last position?
Firing a bunch of people, dude.
No, I had to do that before too. So that's
it's not fun anymore. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no. Really, I did a lot of the stuff before. It's almost now expected, and then to do more as well. So, I love listening to podcasts and listening to people that have been in that position, and either it's motivation or just like other businesses, because it's business strategy, so on and so forth. And so a really good way to look at it is I worked in the company for a long time. I'm talking to dealers. I'm talking to people that are in disc golf every single day. And so now I need to look at it from more of a bird's eye view and work on the company and really plan 4 moves, 5 moves in ahead. So like what we're working on now is really March, April. And so you really need to be in advance. You need to create these partnerships, create these relationships, decide on what decisions are going to move the company forward from a financial standpoint, what investments you're going to make, what makes the most sense to expand the product line, to create partnerships and relationships that are going to make the company better in the long run.
How involved are you with player acquisition, signing players to throw Prodigy?
Yeah, years past, I added, and I really had a hand in adding a lot of the players that were on the team, from the very beginning, and they were just my friends coming up. And really, I kind of leveraged the fact that I was close with the people that did put people on the team, like, Michael and Esther that I just mentioned, and the people that were with Prodigy before. And I said, hey, this guy's going to be a good player. I really want to put him on the team. And we would end up putting him on the team, send him some discs, maybe give him a salary, and kind of help build their careers a little bit. Maybe they were traveling with me, so on and so forth. And so now I have taken a lot bigger of a role in players coming to me saying, hey, I'm looking for a sponsorship. This is what I'm asking for. Or, some disc golfers have these agents that are representing them as well. So they're either sending me a message and saying, hey, we have a couple players, or something along those lines. But, I do a little bit because I just know a lot of the people, and it's really, they reach out to somebody and say, hey, I'm looking to play for somebody's team. Do you guys have an opportunity that I can fit on to Team Prodigy? If there is, what does that look like? And so it's really easy to approach. I mean, you guys kind of get the idea. Everybody talks around. It's all kind of one giant community in a sense, but they're just kind of looking around sometimes and seeing what there is to offer.
So what are you guys looking for in 2025 and beyond when it comes to potentially sponsoring players? We're talking more professional players, right? Players that are playing on tour, not the local guys that are kind of going to be more of your grassroots marketing. What is Prodigy looking for when it comes to, because just to kind of lay it out, we had speculation. Are companies now more interested on like finding 1, 2, 3 big name people and putting a lot of their resources behind those 3? Or are they still interested in like having a team of 30 guys and, not really any big name, but a bunch of people. Like what are the thoughts with Prodigy moving forward with the players to sponsor?
Yeah, and right now it's difficult just with the way the disc golf market is. It's pretty risky to sign somebody to a 3 to 5 year deal. Anything past a 1 year deal, I think it is pretty risky if you're going to pay them a lot of money. And just in my total opinion, I mean, we've been down that road. We've signed all the players. We've had them on our team. They were the world champion, U.S. champion, top followed players. Like, was that reason why it translated into sales? Like, I don't believe that it did. Like, a lot of people and people that we talked to were like, hey, you guys should sponsor more players. It's like, we have the world champion. What do you mean sponsor more players? Who else are we going to sponsor? Like, we need to sponsor. Maybe we actually do need to sponsor the grassroots guy that's right down the road that shows up into their shop every single day and is looking through this and is hosting the leagues and running the tournaments. Like, those are the people that do for sure bring back that return on investment, because it is a low investment to have those players on the team. You give them some custom discs, maybe pay for some entry fees, support them in their tournaments. They feel supported as a player, but you're not paying them a monthly salary or a 2-year deal and something like that. So, right now I think it's a tricky environment to sign somebody to a multi-year deal. And I agree that I think a couple of good players, it really comes down to promoting the brand and the company and getting people to throw the disc. Like, at the end of the day, the company doesn't function if that sponsored player does not help your company sell more discs. Like, it just that's what the sponsorship is for.
What about like having somebody make lead card on the weekend at the Pro Tours for a company? What does that do for you? And does it translate into big sales, or is the guy at your local league bringing more sales into you? Like, what's your opinion on that?
What happened? What do you guys see on your back end when like a top 60 player has a great tournament and is on feature card or lead card at a Disc Golf Pro Tour? Do you see a bump, or do you see any of that? Is that something that you guys can actually notice?
It does all depend on the tournament. It depends on who it is. It depends on how they post, how they promote it afterwards. Like, the person's got to use that to their advantage, like an asset. Like, when they win a tournament or they do well, like, at the end of the day, they need to promote, hey, I used the PA3. The PA3 was the best putter that I used. This is why I did well in the tournament. And this is where you can go get it. That translates into sales. When somebody's like, hey, thanks for being my sponsor, and they kind of move on and go to the next thing, that does not, I mean, at the end of the day, that just doesn't translate to sales. You're not going to get somebody say, oh, just Prodigy. There is that eventual long-term brand recognition when somebody sees that logo under the shirt, which is really hard to quantify what that is.
Yeah.
When you have those ads on a live Pro Tour feed, that's not a YouTube video. That's a one-time or however many time hit. That's a live shot that, hey, I saw that brand. I'm going to go into my store. I saw that they sell the discs, and I'm going to choose that disc because I saw that on the video. It's just like the YouTube ads and the commercials that pop up. How often do you buy the products that come up on the commercials and do that kind of stuff? When you go into a store, do you ever see the brand and you're like, oh yeah, that ad has kind of came up. I kind of thought that was cool, or I saw that online. Like, you have to think of it from that perspective. And it some of it is really hard to quantify of like, what is that return when somebody is on the lead card? It's not like, they show Isaac and all of a sudden you like sell out of PA3s or something like that. Like, it's not that immediate impact that maybe a lot of people do think, but it's the brand recognition that does matter in a long term, because, it's a pretty crowded market. So you need to stick out from a lot of the brands and really, make it known who you are. People know your logo and who you stand for, all that kind of stuff. The same reason you got a foundation hat on.
Yeah. Now,
Steelers gotta support.
I couldn't tell. It's far away. Bushnell, you got the jacket. Yeah.
So one thing that I find interesting, and it sounds like maybe times are changing a little bit, because when I first got in around 2000, it seemed like almost every company had a very standard, okay, if your rating is this, if you like almost a checklist. If you check off all these things, you go into this category, and this is how much you get paid. You get 10 discs, you get this, and this. Oh, okay, you bumped up to this checklist, that tier system. I think that is now gone, because I think what's coming apparent, and we just listed like 6 or 7 people that are all leaving their sponsors, right? Where it's like, when we're seeing it now, there are certain players that are valuable way more than others, even though they might all be in the same tier, right? Of like how good of a player they are. And there's a lot of things, right? There's just your personality, your playing style is another one. Like certain people's playing styles resonates to others. Do you think there's going to be more onus on companies to get savvy about doing more research and figuring out which players are going to be good for their company, where before it just felt like a lot of times like players almost would reach out to a company and they'd be like, oh, well, we can offer you this and throw you in this bucket. Are you seeing more of a competition? Because there are those guys, and we all know it, and girls. I mean, Kristen's probably one of the top, I'm going to say, I would say easily 7, maybe top 5 disc movers in all of disc golf. So do you think there's more competition now than ever before on companies actually trying to go out there and find those players and get those players and maybe even get them before they get to that big name and that big contract?
Yeah, I almost look at it as reverse. I think that it's going to be a lot more competition for players to fight for a sponsorship on a manufacturing team.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
I mean, I look at it the other way. I mean, there's definitely going to be a lot of competition, and, for the players that are traveling and touring and maybe they saw their sponsorship go down or get demoted, like they have to, there's really, you got to prove your worth. Like it's not entirely about going out there. It is about winning, number one. And then on Monday morning, you have to be out there grinding and almost vlogging the whole time and promoting the person who is paying you. And you need to be saying, you should pay me to promote your product because people are buying your discs in the store. I'm telling them to go buy your discs. You need to make videos. You got to do reviews. You got to have people follow you and promote it. And I've said from the beginning, because this is something that I did back to like nonstop disc golf, is we had James Kennedy follow me around. Like if we had that now, that would be the way to do it. Is I would hire somebody to follow me around, film what you're doing. If you can make 3 videos a week and post online about it, that shows a really big value from a player to a company. Like that is a huge deal. And it's hard to do. It's really, I mean, I know, by playing, filming, editing, posting, and then next week go and do the same thing. It's not easy to do. It's very, very hard. It's not get on that consistent cadence is tough.
Are you guys doing any training? Because something that I'm sure we've all gone through is we have like our favorite like content creator and we love watching their content. And then all of a sudden, like they quote unquote sell out, right? And now they're just, it feels like you're kind of almost disconnected with them because now you just feel like they're just selling you every single second. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there are really there's a lot of good disc golfers and there's a lot of bad salesmen that are disc golfers. Because I see posts, I see videos, I see them doing all the things that you want them to do. It's not moving the needle. That's not getting anyone to want to, because you're basically, a lot of it is like empty, right? It's like, it's an empty ad and you can read, right. You can see right through it. So is there any sort of training to try to like, hey, here's some organic ways that you can make content? Because ideally that's really what you want. You want the organic way, me just saying like, hey, this disc is the best, guys. I've never played, I'm gonna be frankly honest with you. A lot of these like post-game speeches, Matt wins, when they're like, I couldn't have done it without this disc. This was the disc why I won the tournament. It's like, we all know that's not the reason why you won the tournament. Yeah. So I think the transparency there, people are like able to kind of see through the BS.
Yeah, for sure. Bit. I mean, I think at the very beginning of making content, maybe way back in the day, that could have got by. But like you said, there's, one
everyone's doing it now. Everyone's
exactly. Everybody's doing it. It does have to be that organic thing. And, you're right. There needs to be some type of training. I think that would go a long way for players to take that kind of stuff and be able to take a class on what organic marketing actually is. What is it that I can do that doesn't make me look like, a quote unquote sellout and just selling instead of a salesman, just creating some people to just follow you on your journey of being a professional disc golfer. What is it besides just selling a disc? You're training, you're practicing, course reviews, playing doubles, competition. Like, it doesn't have to be fully edited, professionally produced content for people to want to like it and watch it. Like, they like organic stuff. They like just natural reactions and comments. Like you said, I think that's a very fair comment, and I think that's good advice for anybody.
I think one of the biggest problems is everybody just doesn't learn their niche, right? Like they like just copy the next guy. They see somebody who's like good at something and then they just copy, and they don't have their own style. With anything, like, you have to have your own style, your own brand, your own personality, and then you got to do the things that you do the best. Like me going and filming trick shots, even though I love them, I'm not going to get the views that Simon gets because he's got that personality for it, and it's obvious because he did it and it caught fire, right? I can do them because they're fun, but I'm not going to get 100,000 views doing that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe mine's coaching, or maybe mine's teaching. You know what I mean? But you got to find your own little thing. And I honestly don't see players searching for that enough, for what is their thing. Maybe you're the funny guy, you know?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, everybody's got their own audience, and I think that's a really fair comment, and I think some good advice for anybody that is listening and looking at building and being a disc golfer. You have to take almost like an influencer class and find out, like, what is organic marketing. Like, you have to be that person that ends up just not pushing product, but creating a following for people that believe stuff that you say. And like, hey, I really like that guy, I follow him. Yeah, I end up buying his stuff because I think he's just like, I can relate to him.
Do you think there's more onus on the actual company? Like, do you think?
What do you mean?
So there's two things, right? So I could have a company reach out to me and say, hey, we want you to make a YouTube video with this product in it, and we'll pay you $100,000. And I'll say, all right, cool. Right. Then there's the second one where it's, hey, we want to make you do a YouTube video. We're only going to pay you 50, but you get to do it with this professional athlete. We're going to film it. We're going to produce it. We're going to give you these opportunities, and we're going to send you to this event. So they add stuff to where you're like, holy cow, that's going to like level up basically the production. It's going to level me up. So there's those are twofolds. And then the third one is the company says, hey, we really like what you're doing. We want to have the rights to your name and likeness, and we want to be able to use that the way we want to be able to use it. In that case, I'm just sitting back, not doing much. And it's on that company to call me up and say, hey, we got this event we want to fly you to. It's on that company to say, hey, we have these couple like product designs that we'd love to put your name attached to it. I think a lot of times, and again, I would love to hear what you think, because maybe you're saying the money is not there for us to do this. But when I got into disc golf, I felt like it was backwards. I felt like a lot of companies were like, okay, we're going to pay you to basically have the rights to your name and pay you to throw our discs, but you also have to do all the marketing. You also have to do all the promoting. And in the world that I was in, that's backwards.
Yeah, I agree that it is. There is absolutely an effort from the company that has to be given. It can't just solely be on the player. There's got to be some opportunities. You know, they can provide the product. You know, I've never been in an instance where they have that like opportunity of like, hey, we're going to get you connected with these professional players over here. Like that does sound like, could the company offer a management style like section to where they're actually managing the opportunities for the players? Like, that's kind of what you're saying. Is
yeah,
that right?
I'm saying like I would probably take a pay cut. Like, I would take less money from a disc golf company if they said, hey, we're also going to provide these opportunities as well if you sign with us. Like that would be exciting to me. I'm just wondering, like, do you foresee that ever happening? Because, you know, a lot of these other sports sponsorships, you know, Nike, Adidas, TaylorMade, Titleist, all these stuff, I'm sure there is stuff in their contract that says like, hey, after you win and you post a photo of you winning, tag, whatever, but they're not asking these people to go out and make YouTube videos
Right.
promoting their product. They're flying these people to make professional, and so that's where I feel like there's a misconnect, or at least I'm thinking there's a huge hole that some company can step in and say, you know what, we're going to be the forefront. We're going to start making content with our players and do it in a different way. Do you foresee that? Is that something that you guys have all talked about as well, or is that crazy talk? Like that doesn't make any sense. You're basically burning money. That's not going to bring any return in investment.
I can't tell you that there would be no return in investment because there hasn't really been anything that has happened like that. I do think that a lot of companies are going to get pretty unique in their offerings. Like you say, they're probably going to end up limiting the amount of players that are on their top tier team. But again, you have to put that, what you just said is a big investment in this production. You have to have a little bit of confidence you're either going to for sure move the product and that player that you're investing in, again, not just from a salary wise, but the production wise, has that following that they can also run with you at the same time. They can't just have I'm not going to say no following, but they can't have a limited following and no effort given on their side for promotions. It's got to be almost ran at the same time and seeing eye to eye across the board. So I think that could be something in the future, but it's funny you brought up at the very beginning of disc golf, sponsorships were people wouldn't even believe the stuff that had happened even 10 years ago. It's ridiculous. I won USDGC in 2010 and they didn't move me to the highest level sponsorship team because I was 2 rating points short.
Yeah, it made no sense. When I was talking to some of these companies when I first came in, and they're like, yeah, sorry, you don't qualify. I'm like, what? You're gonna sell a lot of discs. What does it matter if I qualify or not? Shouldn't you just be worried about selling discs? It seems like some of that is kind of going away. We saw you don't get a disc unless you win a world championship. Well, that's not the case anymore because I think a lot of companies are like, that's stupid. That makes no sense. A good example that I have, kind of what we've just been talking about, I think is Calvin. I think Calvin might be the best example of all of them. Calvin's not someone that's going out on social media and posting himself. I think he ended up hiring someone. There's some agency or management program that posts for him on Instagram. A bunch of players have stuff like that. I think maybe he does post some of his stuff. But if it wasn't for skins, if it wasn't for him being in other videos, if it wasn't for those things outside of just watching him play on League Card, you wouldn't really know who Calvin was. And I don't think his market would be as big. I don't think his popularity would be as big. And so I think Innova kind of got lucky that he was doing skins and he was doing all this other stuff as well. But that's where it's are there other players out there where the sponsor look at that player and be like, oh, if we sponsored them, we could take them to the next level and really make them a lot of money and make us a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, I think we actually did do that for a few years. I mean, there are a lot of players that, look at obviously the Robinson brothers. I mean, they were on our team since they were 13 or 14 years old. I know their dad, and everybody should be happy for somebody who's making a lot more money. If they got offered a lot more money, wherever they're going to end up going, then that's great. I'm happy for them. They're taking care of their family. That's what they have to do at the end of the day. And that's reality. And so, we sponsored a lot of players like Harper Thompson. I met him when he was as high as as tall as my hip. He had hair that was down to his back, and he was in elementary school back then. So there's a ton of players. I could list you a ton of players that really didn't have a career, and then we grab them and say, hey, if we add some marketing, we support them a little bit if they can go out on tour. You give them a signature disc, which doesn't cost the company a lot of money. If they sell a lot of discs, that's great.
Yeah.
And if they turn into a marketing person and we can support them. And we can, what's difficult is when you do have a huge team, 25, 30 players, that they're all in that same category and you're trying to invest that production, like you just said, or what are you going to do? Are you going to choose one out of the 25? And then it does get how do you choose which one it is? And then you're kind of you're not exactly taking a shot in the dark, but you're just kind of willy-nilly. I don't know. It would be difficult if you had a massive team trying to decide on what to do.
That's where, I think that's where a lot of the there needs to be more onus. I mean, it's the same thing like in the NFL, right? A lot of these guys, you're looking at players in high school. I mean, if you're talking about college too, you're looking at players in high school. You don't really know what their competition is. Having good scouts is a huge thing to be able to tell,
Right.
like, is this guy going to be able to play at the next level? And I think it's the same thing in disc golf, being able to look at someone and say, like, is that person going to resonate? Because what we were talking about earlier, I know we all want to kind of say like winning is the big thing. And me and Yuli kind of were arguing about this a little bit. I think we kind of found common ground. But ultimately, from your standpoint, you would much rather have a top 10 player in the world that sells more than anyone else than the number one player in the world that doesn't.
Yeah, I think it's easy to agree. At the end of the day, it all comes down to how many discs they're going to sell. Is somebody
Right.
going to go and buy their disc? Are they going to go online and buy that person's disc? Do they like their brand? Not the manufacturing brand. The idea is that they have, Calvin is a great example. Innova doesn't need a bunch of help because they're been number one disc golf for forever. They've been around since the very beginning. So, but people want to buy his stuff when they have a chance to go meet him. He's a really nice guy. He signs autographs. He's not kicking his bag down the course, and people like to follow him. And that, at the end of the day, he's created a following. Like Paul and I played with Calvin back in 2011, 2000. Like I remember maybe 2009 even. Jeez. I don't know. Maybe that's a little too early, but he was just a big looking kid that almost looked like a German in a way, to be honest. Like just this tall, lanky kid, and his form looked the same. He played the same. Nothing about it has changed. But like ever since he went on tour, graduated from college, and has got support from Innova to go and travel and tour, like he's became a different level of player. He's winning tournaments, and people like to follow him on his journey. And like you said, he's not out there just like being a salesman. He's just kind of being the guy that he just is, but being consistent about it as well.
Do you think if he did hire that, because he's making good money, if he hires a guy to follow him around with the camera and do all that stuff, do you think he'd make more money? Do you think he'd sell more discs?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
right?
I think there are. I think that's the trick. Is there are certain players that if you put marketing behind them, they would sell more. And then there's others that if you put marketing behind them, you're losing money. And that's where I think it's going to be starting to get a little tricky. And then my next question to you is, what does the competition look like between these other manufacturers? Because at one point in time, it seemed like you guys were all kind of like in cahoots almost, right? Like I could be wrong, but it almost kind of seemed like, hey, this person just wants, just reached out to us. They want to sign a $30,000 contract. We don't really want to do that. Like there's almost like this talking between to make sure like everyone's like, is that kind of gone now? Are you still looking at Innova and Discraft and MVP as like, oh, we're all one family, we're all disc golf? Or is it a little bit more cutthroat now of where it's like, no, like these are our competitors. These are our industry competitors. We're trying to get a bigger market share than them.
Yeah, I don't see this cutthroat. I don't know of any like internal, like, there's talking because everybody knows everybody within the manufacturing, within the industry, but there's not much like cutthroat. We're coming in, getting that guy. Like, at the end of the day, does the company want to pay the player or not? And then, it's up to the player to decide. Do they want to go with A? Do they want to go with B? If it's the absolutely exact at the end of the day, absolutely the same. Usually it's not exactly the same. Usually it leans one way or another. A lot of the times they like to go to the grass is greener on the other side, and it's always better somewhere that you don't really know is better or not. And so they like to take that leap of faith to see if it's different. There's really no like cutthroat for sponsorships from my side. Well, we've had a lot of players reach out, especially this year. And it's just like, if I'll give you what we could offer you, if you like it, that's great. We would love to have you on the team. If you want to talk and say there's like a little bit more, this is what we're looking for, that's great. But if you don't take it, there's no harm, no foul. Like you got to take the best offer. You're trying to be a full-time disc golfer. Totally understand. You got to find what's best.
Are you guys like at all reserved with your sponsorships now? Because I mean, elephant in the room, like everybody from the original team, including myself, is gone. You're the last guy kind of standing. Is Prodigy like actively looking to get like really great players putting on the team, or maybe one really good guy and then putting all your support around him? Or is there like, well, what do we got to do here? Like, we develop these players, like you said, Isaac becomes the world championship or becomes the world champion and 2 times, and now he's gone. Like, who's like, where does that go? Was there a number that you guys just couldn't meet? And obviously you probably can't say that or whatever. Or was it just the offer was too good and he wanted to go? Like, it's a tough thing, especially in your position now being the CEO. Those are tough calls.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they say, you know, this is the offer. Obviously, he's going to get a call from a lot of other manufacturers. This is the offer that we're getting. And at the end of the day, do we meet it or do we not? And if he's gonna, at the end of the day, he's got to take the most money from, because if he recently married, wants to start a family, everybody needs to make the most. You're only a pro disc golfer for so long, and you got to make as much money as you can. If he's getting offered this over here, we can't do it. Hey, we're sorry. We can do this is the absolute best we can do. We want to keep you on our team, which is what we did. We put together as the best offer we can for Isaac and Ezra. And at the end of the day, he said, "Hey, this is there's more money over here. We're going to go take it." And that's basically the end of the story right there. You know, are we actively looking to add like a top 5 player right now? The answer is no, because that's just not our top priority. Our top priority is to really help kind of change what people think of our company. Number one, working from it the inside out, like not marketing it and paying somebody to be that person to be marketing. Like, we really want to focus from who we are, how people perceive our brand, work on some products internally, especially the quality, the consistency, be on things like this, support creators that are out there. Maybe they don't throw full Prodigy bags, but we can get them some discs to review and work on people and do some cool, fun stuff. While we don't have this massive team, we have a lot of good players that we're supporting that didn't have an opportunity before. I think we're still going to have over 10 to 15 signature series discs for players that never would have had that opportunity before. They're going to be out there kind of getting their feet wet on a full-time tour. And I'm happy about it, because that's the position that I was in. That's the position that everybody has to have. Everybody's got to have an opportunity to take that next level. You know, we're not signing anybody, you know, to right now that is like been on tour for years, that is well-known, track record, coming in. Like, that's just not where we're at.
Big Germ's not coming. Huh? Dang.
Check that off the list. There we go.
All right. Yeah.
Stokely and Big Germ not going to. Oh, well, Stokely hasn't been touring, so who knows?
He makes his own disc. What do you mean? He's going to sponsor himself?
Not Stokely. Sorry, Climo.
Oh, okay.
Dark Horse Climo Prodigy.
But no, I'm excited to support players that maybe didn't have that would have not had that opportunity if we had this team of touring pros. To be honest, like, we're going to be building the next touring pro will come from Prodigy once again.
Where would you guys put right now? You just talked about trying to change, you know, where Prodigy, your image, right? Because, you know, let's elephant in the room. There's some things that have happened over the last year or two that probably has hurt Prodigy's image a little bit with a lot of disc golfers out there. So where would you put yourself right now in the totem pole of manufacturers? Who are you looking up at that you're saying, like, we got to try to figure out a way to be better than these guys?
Yeah, it's interesting. I never really thought about like comparing 1-to-1. You know, there's a handful of U.S. manufacturers that you know, you have Innova Discraft MVP. Obviously, Latitude is in Sweden. Like, we're one of the few manufacturers that are in the U.S. Like, I look at our company from our company and who I would like people to perceive our brand and company as, and work at it from that way, versus this is what they're doing, we should follow what they're doing. Like, it's great to look at the industry and see what people have done to create that image and how people resonate with just the market themselves. But for me, I want people to know what Prodigy is all about. And I'm happy to be that point person to be, okay, hey, Will's the CEO of the company. Will is the guy doing these things. There's a lot of hard decisions, like whether you want to decide on paying the Robinsons or not. Like, unfortunately, that comes down to whether we want to do it or not and invest in that. And those are hard decisions to make. There's sometimes really fun decisions and things that you get to work on, like new products, new partnerships, signing players, not signing players. Like, you know, there's a lot of internal company things that are really fun and, again, not super fun to do. But at the end of the day, that's my decision that I work on, that we talked about from the very beginning. It's working in the company and then working on the company and working on the future of it. Is that some things are really fun to do, but you have to love working on a business and growing it. And from the brand side, it's a very small community, small ripples in the pond. Everybody feels it. And one way or another, like, you have to have a good face. You got to have communication, I think, is really key. Something that we didn't have prior before is just actively talking about why we did this. This is why we needed to do it, so on and so forth. So
yeah, it sounds like this player sponsorship is not as big of a piece of a pie as maybe we all think it is when it comes to the importance of a manufacturer, right? Like, it sounds like you guys aren't, like you said, you're not going out and trying to get a top 5 player to all of a sudden make a big splash. You're trying to do a bunch of stuff internally and trying to change it that way. You know, I think the disc is a big one. I think that is a huge one. Now, here's an interesting question. Any thoughts on maybe coming up with a restructuring of the naming of discs?
I mean, the core of our company is the naming of our brand. I think that there are opportunities to come out with more discs with the naming structure that we have kind of done with some of the collab series that we are going to continue to keep, like the Archive, the Falcor, the Reverb. Like, there are discs that are like that I do think we can kind of continue to expand on and have almost two continuous lines that have the name of a disc, or, you know, a big thing is the artwork. And that's something that we never really focused on back in the day. Like, we had stock stamps and we had, you know, slap a stamp on it basically and move on. But now I think the artwork is like so important for it to be 2-color, swirly plastic, and top quality disc. Like, that's what it has to be for people to want to buy your product now. That's actually more of where the competition comes in, is the quality of discs, and the difference now and compared to years prior is so much different. Like, when you look at a disc that used to be swirly from 6 years ago, 7 years ago, that's not a swirly disc now. Like, now you got 3-4 colors that are coming in with, you know, 2 to 3 hot stamps on like a normal disc. And that's what you need to compare yourself to. And so that's really working from the company inside out, is we have to have the top quality product, you know. And when people say the best in the industry is very subjective, you have to have top quality product, 2-color foil, the best artwork, and top quality discs.
Yeah, no, I like the way you're going about it, because I do think sometimes we do get a little too stuck up on like who's throwing the discs. And we've said it many times. There's only a handful of people right now that can really have a big impact on the market. And so it is a big shot in the dark, signing people, being like, well, I hope these people can get other people out there. Like, I think focusing on the disc, getting the disc quality high, consistency, all those things, I think those are big. And from pros, I mean, from our standpoint, you know, the more that you can just pull a disc off a shelf and know what it's going to do, the better. If you're able to do that more consistently, I think people are going to go back to your product more and more, versus, oh, this is a flippy blank. Oh, this was an overstable blank. And it's like, well, that disc should not be flippy or overstable. It should be one, and that's it. And so I think we're seeing some of that changing. Is a lot of that have to do? Is that how that have to do with like the manufacturing side of things, of like how it's done? I've heard like the humidity and like the temperature and all this stuff, like how long you let it cool. Do you let it cool on top? Do you let it cool on bottom? Like, How do
Sticking
you,
a coffee can on top of them.
yeah, like how do you get the consistency better? Because if I go into a Walmart and I buy a basketball, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that the disc golf industry uses plastics that are very hard to manufacture. They're not like making a phone case. Making a phone case is going to be the exact same thing. And so if you want to get super scientific and really look into it, like injection molding has an infinite amount of variables, really. If you've never been at a disc making machine, really, injection molding machine has an infinite amount of variables. You can make a disc in hundreds of different ways. It's not just like one specific way. And there's no make a disc button when you walk up to it. Yeah. And so there, like you're saying, there's 1,000 different things that could be maybe a little bit different or a little bit right or a little bit off, or the plastic could be a little bit different. But if you look up TPU and TPE plastic, like those are two plastics that are just really hard that people don't use in manufacturing. They use it in 3D printing. Some of them use it in, I think, the bottom of shoe soles, but it's not easy to use to make stuff. And so if you ever talk to somebody else that's in manufacturing and you bring up those plastics, they're like, yeah, I wouldn't.
Is that a money thing? Is it because that's like the cheapest plastic to get?
No, it's not cheap in any way. No, it's not cheap. It's a high quality plastic, and everybody uses it. I mean, it's just a type of, like, it's almost like a family, like a big broad term. It's not a specific type.
There's not some other plastic out there that you can use that's gonna be better. You guys are using the best that you can, but unfortunately it's just super inconsistent.
Yeah, everybody. It's not necessarily inconsistent. The plastic itself is not inconsistent. It's just different. It's hard to just be great at making that. Like when you're looking at making, like, your phone case is not made out of the same stuff a disc is made out of. Like it is essentially the same process, but it is a different plastic. So it's kind of hard to understand. It's hard to explain in a quick little podcast without.
Is there a chance that all of a sudden Prodigy finds the super plastic out there that nobody knows about, and then all of a sudden, is that something that happens? Are you guys constantly looking at different plastics and different places that sell that?
Yeah,
plastic?
all the time. Yeah, all the time. And honestly, I don't ever like to take credit. I'm not taking credit, but our team came up with the fractal plastic last year, and like that's a great example. Like that's an aesthetic look that's different than what everybody else offers. Like it's very similar to Jawbreaker, but it looks completely different. And so there's a whole world of that kind of stuff. Like plastics, anything that you see in the store that is made of plastic and looks cool, you could almost put it into a disc somehow. Almost, like in some form or fashion, you can find a way to do it. Just like the UV, the glimmer, the color shift from one to the other, like you can find a way to do it and put it in disc. So like that's the side that is very competitive, is that disc making technology and the consistency and the way they look is very competitive.
All right, let me go back a little bit. One player question, because I've always thought that this would be I always thought that maybe this is a future down the road. Will we ever see a time where Prodigy only sponsors a section of a player's bag?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not going to say no by any means, but there would have to be a benefit. Like, what would be the benefit in being out there? Like, if they just sponsor a section of the bag, like I've seen some people do that. Like, I think Gateway used to do that. Maybe Infinite does that now, if I remember. Like, I guess I don't know the benefit.
You have to have a certain amount of discs in your bag.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that, because then you can kind of just say, well, I have 5 discs in my bag, I never throw them. I'm talking about simply like your putting putter is so whenever they putt, they're putting with a Prodigy putter, or all your distance drivers are Prodigy. So I'm saying, like, you can't really be like, well, I'm pretty much throwing this distance driver all the time, but I also have 4 Prodigy distance drivers in there. It's literally like that entire part of your game is Prodigy. But instead of, my thought for this, and again, it doesn't really solve the problem of most players don't actually have a good ROI for companies. So you would need to have more players come into the world that actually make companies money. But if you did have a player that made, let's say Isaac Robinson, for example, right? Isaac Robinson's going to make whatever company goes to, money. That's just going to be facts, right? Unless they go stupid and, fly him in on a helicopter or something and pay him a crazy amount of money. But for the most part, there's going to make his company money. So that being said, if you're like, well, wait, we don't want to lose Isaac, but we're not able to pay an entire full bag, it basically gives the ability of different manufacturers to split that cost amongst so the risk is lower, right? Like you were saying, the grassroots player, yeah, I'll give 1,000 people, $100 because that's not that big of a risk because we're going to get so much marketing out of all those 1,000 people versus giving one person $1 million, right? So like, is there any thoughts in that of where, all right, you know what, Isaac, you putt pretty good. Keep putting with this putter, but you can go out and get sponsored with other discs in your bag.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting take. I know that there's been some other companies that have tried it. It's not something that I've considered or thought about recently, but like I was saying earlier, I think that sponsorships just in general are going to change just a little bit because, I don't know, I can't tell you the future and how the disc golf market is going to move, but it's going to be interesting to see how this year goes going into the year after. And like I was saying, I think it's really risky for somebody to sign a multi-year deal for a player and commit a lot of money to him. I just personally think that because it's just hard to tell. Like at the end of the day, we're all a business, whether we're the largest in the industry or small players. And it's tough. Like that's the hard decisions that you kind of have to make. Like, is it worth it for us to offer him a smaller deal? But at the end of the day, the player wants to get paid the most amount of money. So they're going to find a company that says, if you throw all my discs, I'll just pay you more. And they'll say, okay, yeah, sure. That's probably what I'll end up taking.
Yeah, that 100% is ideal. But like I said, like a lot of times in golf, that doesn't, a lot of players, they can't get that big deal because
right.
That is risky. So it's better to piece out your bag a little bit.
Wait, I got a non-serious question. If you have another serious.
No, I don't have any more serious questions.
All right. Brodie's been dancing around this idea. I'm going to have him pitch you the idea of the team. The team.
Oh,
pitch him the team.
All right. So even though Yuli, my co-host,
that's me,
my confidant, been on this podcast since day one, is captain of Discraft, I have gone back and forth and said, I don't believe there's teams in disc golf. And I've gone on record many times saying this about, I think a lot of times it's a very nice thing to say. You get people excited. I'm a part of something that's bigger than me. Hoorah, hoorah, let's go. But at the end of the day, it's every man for himself. However, for whatever reason, the disc golf fan, the disc golf spectator, they are more locked into these manufacturers than any other sport I've been a part of. It's crazy. It really is. It's very similar to F1, where people are locked in with their brands, they're locked in with their logos, they're locked in with their companies. They love it. So why don't we just go all in? Why do we stop trying to make this facade and have all the companies lie to us and say, we're all a family, we're all a team, hoorah, let's all go. When at the end of the day, it's like, bro, you're not making us money. Get the flip out of here, right? So why don't we just cut all that BS and go all in and literally have teams where it's like 4 guys, 2 women, and that's your team. And you put them out there and you play. And all the companies throw money in so that there's a decent amount of prize pot at it. And then you also get sponsorship dollars and all that stuff throughout the year get thrown in. So whoever wins the whole team competition throughout the season, that company gets a big fat check. And then the players on the team get bonuses and all that stuff. And so now it's no longer this, okay, well, who can sell us the most discs? Yeah, I'm sure that's still going to be somewhat important. But let's be honest. I sell a lot of discs. Is a team going to really pay for me to go out there to try to beat Gannon? No. What the heck? They're not. That would be the stupidest thing ever. So now it starts putting a little bit more onus on the competition side and makes us not salespeople anymore, makes us athletes, goes out there and everyone can start doing it. And the fans will get behind it for sure. Seeing Prodigy try to take down Innova, Like people are going to want to see that crap. And I think right now, like that to me sounds like the way that disc golf actually should probably go.
Yeah, it would be like you said, people buy into it. And I think that there needs to be some creative stuff. Again, same thing talking about sponsorship. There needs to be some creative stuff from the manufacturers to grow the sport, make it like the COVID boom again. And at the end of the day, the manufacturers have really made the sport go at the end of the day. Like they've put a lot of money into the sport. They sponsor the players, they sponsor the tours, they do all the commercials, they're making all the products. Like there needs to be a way where we can work together and make something like that, because people would buy into it, they would follow it. You got to create a fan base for the sport.
Brand loyalty would be a huge thing.
Like the majority
above everything.
the
Brand
majority
loyalty would
sure,
be
but
it's just like an NFL team.
Yeah, just look at it from a disc golf side and creating the fan spectator experience like that. Like just look at it purely from that. Like yes, manufacturer. Look, invite all the manufacturers, every single one that has sponsored this, including Temu. You know, and let them make a team. It doesn't. Whoever wants to add and bring a team, like you said, but it needs to be something that is actually growing the sport, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to win unless there's more people that are getting into the sport and buying discs. Like at the end of the day, it's going to be the same market that you're selling to, just over and over. More people have to get in to play disc golf. Like you need to walk into Target and see a disc golf display, not a pickleball display. Like that needs to be the target where you need to get to. You know, I walked into Target the other day and there's pickleball right there. Like disc golf can get to that point, but there's not enough people that are watching the sport yet. It needs to be just like blown up.
And one of the reasons that I think disc golf, a lot of people aren't watching disc golf. If you look at like some of the most popular sports, something that you don't really see is like people like high-fiving the opponents and people like cheering on the opponents. Like majority of people don't want to see that, Will.
I mean, that, you know, I agree with you, but that does, high-fiving your opponent, you're talking about just golf in general, though. It does happen in golf every now and then whenever you're coming down, like, different things. Like, every now and then there's sportsmanship of, like, giving a small little fist bump or something like that. But no, I'm with you. Like,
for some guys. In golf, for some guys hate each other, and they're not going to do anything. They're
completely different. Yes, I mean, golf is a 1v everybody sport. There's no doubt about it. But it would be very interesting to have I think they tried to Disc Golf Pro tried to do a team thing 2 years ago, right at the beginning of the year. Didn't they have like a 4-man scramble that they tried to do? That they chose. What isn't the All-Star event a team event?
The All-Star event is a team event. Yeah.
But it's just the All-Stars. It's not brand like
it's just like one captain versus another captain.
That's the only thing that we have right now, though. Like what else are you even going to compare it to? There's really nothing else.
No, you're
like that.
I mean the President's Cup a little bit.
Yeah, President's Cup is close, right? But I mean, it would be really interesting. I think people would like it. And again, it comes down to the fan base. Like it serves the fans of disc golf, and it makes people want to watch something and follow the sport. I think at the end of the day, that has to be an ultimate goal.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think there's already, like he said, there's already brand loyalty out there.
Crazy.
Like, I'm a Discraft. I'm a Prodigy guy. I'm an Innova guy for life. And
it's not even that. They even say other companies suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's like I would never. Yes, they're like I will never throw that. They suck. And it's like that is that hatred and that passion and that is something that people will tune in to watch.
Yeah, they like that.
Because if you're a diehard Prodigy fan and you hate Innova, and Prodigy is going toe-to-toe to Innova at the Innova tournament, you're going to tune in to watch that. And that's the other thing too, is like, we're supposed to have this idea that all these people that are sponsored the same company, that we're teammates and we're supposed to like each other and stuff. And I've always had this argument with Yuli. If I'm not friends with them, I'm not rooting for them. I'm not hoping they win. Like it's not going to really do anything for me. But all of a sudden, if we're now teammates,
it does do something.
Where now what their success has impact on my success. Now that actually means something, and I'm going to be out there rooting for him. I'm going to be out there doing stuff for him. And I think you'd start seeing instead of all these people that are all like sleeping in their cars next to each other and they're all friendly and all that stuff, you'd actually would start seeing a little bit of competitiveness on tour. And I think it'd be exciting. I think people would want to see that and tune in. Where right now, what happens? People get really excited at the beginning of the season. And then at a certain point in time, the numbers drop. People don't really care anymore. People start tuning out. I don't know. I'm just wondering, is disc golf supposed to be more of a team sport? Did we miss the mark?
I mean, it's as much as a team sport as any golf event. It's like, I mean, to me, it's like one v everybody. I think when you're sponsored by the same company, it helps if you're supporting the person that is maybe throwing your discs and supporting the person that is promoting the company that's paying you as well. Like, I think that does show, like you're saying, it shows a little bit of camaraderie, but it also is kind of like, I'm supporting the people in the group that are paying me to be out here throwing these discs. I'm not going to be here otherwise without the person that is giving me the shirt that has their logo on the back. And so, it doesn't need to be a team thing, but I like the idea of what you're saying, of people would buy into it. Absolutely. And it would serve the fan base really well.
I mean, and my argument to him about not a team sport is like this. Isaac wins the world championship. The people down below, you're going to sell more product because of that. The brand recognition. Why wouldn't I root for the guy on my team who just won the world championship? I'm going to sell more. Ask the guy. If he wins the world championship,
you might not be sponsored. They might have to pay Isaac more money. And guess what?
No mites. I don't want to hear no mites. I don't want to hear no mites. Maybes. You're trying to get in there with the maybes and the mites.
Isaac.
There's no mites. There's no maybes.
Sponsorship.
Let me finish my point.
So much,
we got the guy right here. He wins the world championship. The rest of the team benefits. It trickles down. It has to. Why wouldn't you root for that? If it's Isaac against myself, and you're on Team Prodigy, and you don't like Isaac that much, but you really like me, you might root for me. But at the end of the day, when he wins, guess who benefits? You do. And there's nothing you can change. There's no argument that can change that. It's just the facts.
I think if you win, Yuli, it benefits me. Like last year,
because he's the co-host.
No, yeah. Like I think me and you are connected. Like last year, if you do well, I think there is some trickle down beneficial there because I'm connected to you that way. I think if I'm sponsored by some company and I have no connection to this person and they go out and win, I don't think all of a sudden. Like let's just
it's not going to be this crazy mark of you making a ton more money.
Exactly.
But
so
it is going to be it's going to be better than before. It's going to be better than before for sure. If we were not connected in any way and I win the world championships with Discraft, you sell more product. Even if it's one, it's still more. And guarantee somebody will go to the Discraft website, look at the product, see your name, and go, oh, Brodie's on the team. Swipe, you just got an extra sell because I'm dope, dude.
I think that's for certain people. I don't think it's for everyone. It's
let's ask the CEO.
I mean, did you see when Isaac was having the dominance that he was having back world championships? Did you see some of your lower sponsored players an uptick in their disc sales?
I would say, yeah. I would say it's almost guilty by association in a way, because when people are coming in and they're buying Isaac discs, there are dealers buy the discs, retail customer buy the discs. Somebody's coming in and you have 1,000 people that are coming to your site that are saying, I want to buy Isaac's new disc. There are going to be, this guy also has a signature series that's in the same line as Isaac. So that is true. Like there is an association with that actually does affect that. Maybe to not some crazy high degree. Right. Are they going to sell the same? No, but there is a degree of associations. Yeah, there is an uptick for sure. Like there's an association of being on the same team as the world champion, if and especially if that person is using your disc as well.
Yes.
If somebody is out there throwing a disc that's got your logo on it, then you're like, yeah, make that. And when you pull that out of the basket, go really slow if you could, right in front of the camera. Like, yeah, there's definitely an uptick, and especially if they're throwing your discs. And
hey, when Isaac won the world championship, he had one of my old discs on there with my logo. That was
there. You
nice.
go.
The purple driver, was that it?
It was a green one.
Okay,
It was a green one. Yeah.
Okay, here's a question. Is there any cannibalization in disc golf with player sponsorships? Like, is there a certain number that obviously we're only polling and reaching from a small pool of players, right, or of consumers, I guess you could say, disc buyers. And so if you have a certain number of people on your team, does there come a time and place where you're like, listen, like, this person would buy X disc, but now that we have 10 people, it doesn't mean that they're going to buy one of each of their 10. Like, is there a cannibalization when you have a certain number of people? Is that something that you guys are looking into down the line of like, we only want to sponsor this many people because at a certain point, like the return on investment starts dropping drastically?
Yeah, there's definitely I would say there's a diminishing return at the end of the day. Like, not, and stores are buying the product. They can't carry one brand 20 signature series discs. Like, that's really difficult for a store to do, to come in. And I don't know the magic number. It's for us, it's probably different than some other company,
Sure,
to be fair. But like, if a Play It Again sports store says, yeah, I buy the signature series every single year, and they say, okay, we got 20 this year, they're gonna say, okay, well, I don't know half the players. A lot of the store owners don't know the players anyways. And they're like, well, I guess I'll take 2 of everybody because that's going to give me 40 discs, versus if you had 5 players, they're taking 8 of all of them. So it is a little bit different. There is some, cannibalization, I guess, of that. But, at the end of the day, you just can't give everybody a signature series disc. Like, you can't have 20 lined up ready for them to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot to take on.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think there's also there's a big difference too with, creating a brand new disc and putting someone's name on it and having a disc because that's, to me, that's how you really know if someone can sell a disc. Is the only difference between that disc and another disc is the stamp. Their logo's on this disc. You're willing to spend $5 more just for their logo to be on it when you could get the stock for $5-7 cheaper. That's how you really know a player can move discs, when that sells. Because I think most people can move a disc if it's a brand new disc and they get their name stamped
like
on.
a new mold or something like
Correct.
that. Is that what you're
Correct.
saying? Yeah.
If a brand new disc comes out and you attach it to some player's name, now obviously, again, the multiplier, certain people, they're going to sell a lot more of those discs. But it's like, when you already have a bunch of options for a disc for a cheaper price, but you're still able to sell a lot because that logo or person's name on the disc, I think that is the key indicator of whether or not someone actually can move plastic or not. Yuli, do you got anything else?
I don't. I think that's about it.
Well, do we miss any? We talked about a whole bunch of stuff. Is there anything that we missed? Is there anything that you would like to talk about?
I don't know. It's not my podcast. I don't know.
Well, I didn't know if there was any questions that you wish we would have asked you that we didn't.
No. We got one announcement coming tomorrow, which I'm pretty excited about. So got a little
big germ.
Climo?
Come on. No. It's pretty good. No, I'm excited about it. So keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
It'll be interesting. It might break a couple ankles. I don't think people are expecting it, but it's good.
Also, I want to put it out there. I don't think Prodigy baskets are bad. I think people just suck at putting. I think me and Yuli will stand by that. I think there's too many people that just want to putt a certain way, and if the basket doesn't go in on every single basket, they just blame the baskets. I'll put it out.
It's an easy out. But no, we have improved our basket by a good little bit, which is good. Somebody asked me about that today on some other interview podcast. Yeah, so nothing like, I mean, to be fair, you're only really going to notice it if you really know disc golf baskets and you play on them a good bit. But we've improved the change, improved the color and the way they do the powder coating. The basket looks a little bit different, but it's the same change. So
are we going to see that on tour events?
I guess I'd have to see if we can get some baskets there or not. We'll have to find out.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Well, Will, we know you're a busy person. You got a lot of stuff going on. Hopefully the family's doing well as well. And hopefully you all had a good holidays and a great 2025. It sounds like a lot of things are going on in Prodigy. Look forward to seeing it. And we appreciate you jumping on here, brother.
Yeah, thank you, Will.
All right. See you guys.
All right. Take care,
Have a good
man.
one.
There you have it. The new CEO of Prodigy, Will. I like the direction, actually.
You know what?
I'm a fan.
He answered all the questions.
He
the right
answered
way,
them all.
and he's sharp, man.
Yeah.
Will's sharp. He's sharp. I was impressed with how much knowledge he had of even the ins and outs from the plastics and stuff. That was impressive.
And I think if they would have just gone out and thrown the bag at someone, I think that would have just been like putting a Band-Aid on a cut artery.
Yeah,
like it would have been okay for like maybe a month or two, but then it would have been like really bad. And
well, we don't know what they're announcing tomorrow.
Well, yeah. Big Germ, 4 years, $4 million. But we've seen a lot of these companies now really start being like, wow, we paid these players way too much money and we're getting screwed. And so I like that. I like that he was also talking about the discs, going back, making sure the discs are good. The consistency is good. I think all that is very, very important. So
well spoken.
Yeah, I always like him having on the podcast. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's get back. We got a couple other players to talk about. We left off with the 3 players leaving Innova. Robert Burge also made an announcement that he was leaving Lone Star. I think Lone Star almost everyone is gone. I think like everyone that signed and like everyone was going all nuts about Lone Star. I think everyone.
Well, who else is on your list from them?
Well, I didn't put a lot of people, but I think like AJ Carey left. I think Nico left. Deanne Carey left. Oh wait, he wasn't sponsored by Lone Star. Chandler Kramer, I think left like mid-season, right, or something. Wait, so Freddie Meza is still sponsored by Lone Star, says Bud. Okay. Tanner G, I don't know who that is, but he's sponsored by Lone Star as well. So it seems like a lot of people left. Not sure what's going on down there. Parker Welk leaves and signs with Dynamic Discs.
I like it. Yeah. When's the Dynamic Disc open? A few years back?
Yep.
Goes back over there.
Maybe some connection there. See what happens there. We have Cole Redolin re-signing with DGA. Paige Shue re-signs with Discraft. And Emily Weatherman. I think this is one of the bigger pickups of the year. Emily Weatherman to Innova so far. I think that's a big pickup.
Yeah. Just
who
came
was
out
she,
of nowhere onto the scene. I don't know.
Was she like a Latitude person?
I honestly don't know. I can't even speculate.
I'm like trying to remember what she like. I'm trying to like think about the was it Des Moines? Oh, people are saying she was open bag.
Yeah. Okay, that's why.
Well, that's why I was blanking on who she was sponsored by. She wasn't sponsored by anyone. So we'll keep an eye out on that, see how that goes. But it's very interesting. We're starting to kind of see different strategies amongst these companies, right? Innova, very top heavy, it's looking like. They've got their guys. That's it. They're rocking with those. They're rolling with those. You've got Discmania. Seems like they're starting to pick up a lot of the younger players, trying to get a lot of the young guns. MVP, they got James Conrad, and then they brought over Simon and Eagle. Not much there. They got Paul Kranz too, but again, like kind of a small team there. And then you got like Discraft. Discraft is just like how many studs can we have on the team type of thing. Like that's their. Like no one else is kind of doing that. No one else has as stacked deep of a team as Discraft has. And then you've got, Lone Star doing Lone Star stuff. You got Latitude. Prodigy. Seems like Prodigy's kind of taking a step back and going like more guys that they're probably not going to have to spend that much money to throw their plastic, and work that way. So interesting stuff that everyone's kind of seeing to find their own way of sponsoring players. But I think we sometimes, obviously, as players, I think we probably are a little bit biased. I think we kind of put a little bit more. We think we're more important than we actually are. I think there's a lot more bigger moving parts to make a manufacturer go than just signing a player, right? So I don't know. Did we miss any size? Were there any other names that we missed? Yuli, can you think of any other names that we missed? Signings?
Not that I can think
I
of.
saw Sullivan Tipton, I think, re-signed with DGA right before the podcast started. I think I just saw that. And
I mean, in the next week, next month, we're gonna have
let's
a
talk
few
about
more.
it.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it. Who could potentially, because we were talking about what Innova.
Oh yeah, Innova. Who are they gonna? They get rid of a bunch. Who are they gonna pick up?
Yeah, this was my idea of like get rid of 4 people that you're paying 30,000, bring one in that you're paying 120.
Because Germ's gone. So who do you snag? I mean, we got Isaac.
So Isaac's still out there,
and that makes a little sense, right?
I don't hate Isaac on Innova.
No.
Who else is out there? Isaac, not really any top female players, right?
Let's go back. The question was, who could you replace that would sell as much product?
Correct. As like 3 or 4 of those players. I think Isaac could. Because especially if you sign,
champion.
Especially if you sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal, right? Because
champ.
like we said, when you go to a new company, your sales are already going to skyrocket that first year or two because everything you throw is new. Is he really the only one that hasn't really made an announcement yet? That we're waiting for? And then Climo. Climo's obviously the next big one. Kale. Yeah. I don't know if Kale will sign with someone else.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, he has his company already.
Yep. Annika Steen's open bag? Or she was open bag last year.
Really?
That'll be interesting. Open bag. Annika
Did you guys mention Vino?
Well, isn't he with
Innova? Yeah. He just got a 3-year thing, I think.
He just signed with Innova for 3 years.
I saw him on Team Champion though, not on Team Star, which I was surprised about. And Kevin Jones both Team Champion, not Team Star.
Is Team Star the top one?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. KJ's with Innova. He did make that announcement during the season. Yeah. What the heck? Gosh, it's been a long year. Holy cow! I completely even forgot about that. So really the big
Haley
ones that
King? Did she
Haley
announce
King.
where she was going?
or people saying Haley's going. Oh, she's leaving Innova.
She said she left Innova.
Oh,
I don't think she announced where she's going yet.
where would she end up? She's not going back to Discraft. Like a West Side
MVP.
Yeah, I mean, there'll definitely be some chatter, some announcements coming in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure. So we'll be on the up and up there. I think we're going to try to get some of these people. I mean, obviously, when Isaac makes his announcement, we'll try to get him on. Obviously, Big Germ, open invite to get him on for the announcement.
You know what we could do, which would be fun?
Talk to me.
What if we made a list and you and I just drafted who we think in order, a little snake draft, a team that would make you be the most lucrative for your team?
Oh, you want to go top to bottom?
Yeah, you take the top, let's say 10 best players in the world, or just you get 5 picks, I get 5 picks, and you go boom, 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 snake draft all the way down and see.
Silas, are we able to do a graphic like that with this at some point?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah, we can do that next week if you guys
and
want.
And then maybe even our chat could vote. Okay, I'm buying from this team.
Yeah, we can put it up
That'd
on socials
fun.
and people.
We could be our own CEOs for a week.
Okay. And this is just disc sales.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how good they are. Just straight disc sales.
Who's going to make your company the most money? So it could be disc sales. It could be with their social media, with different little things, because it doesn't have to be just disc sales. I mean, AB sells a lot of shirts.
Well, that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
we're going
it's just
simply
who's
off
gonna
of
make you
who's
the
going to
mo-
make you the most money.
Yeah.
What company at the end of the year? Because we're selling the same discs, we're just
Yep.
stamping them with our players' names on them.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Okay.
Kind
Okay.
of fun.
Yeah, we'll come up with the. Yeah, I think we should do. I think we should do top 10. Like pick 10 guys and like 4 girls.
Okay.
Right?
10 guys, 4 girls.
I mean, how many girls do you think we should have? 6, maybe, actually.
6 girls on each team. Or
on each team?
Or are you saying 3
and 3? I think
3
3
and
and
3
3
sounds
and
good.
5 and 5 guys, 3 and 3 girls.
Okay.
I think that probably works the best.
And 1 AM. No, just kidding.
one local pro. One social media. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited for that. Okay, Saz, let's get that set up for next week. That should be fun. Was there anything else, chat? Anything else we missed this week? Like I said, kind of a slow week as far as storylines go. I mean, it's been
been 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a hot minute since we've played any tournaments, and I think really ultimately that's what we really want to talk about. We want to talk about some tournament playing.
Well, the Memorial's coming up. I know it's not an elite series, but I do like that tournament.
Who's playing in that?
Gannon, AB.
Is he really? Okay.
Yeah. So at least a little classic battle to start the year off.
Yeah, it's just who will par the first hole, basically.
Yeah.
Who will make the first par. All right. Fair enough. All right. Well, this is a good show. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Big thanks to our guest, Will, for hopping on. Always fun talking with him. And thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful 2025. Let's make this the best year, right? Is that what people say? Let's make this the best year.
When's our 100th episode? It's coming up quick, right?
This is episode
already
1.
passed.
This is episode
we
1.
didn't even do anything for it.
No.
We're not really that kind of podcast.
We're not.
Really.
We could have been.
We should do something.
We could have
we
been that
can't.
podcast, but
Yeah, we're not.
Really,
though. Yeah, you're right.
we're not really.
I
that
knew it
kind of
was already
podcast.
passed.
We just
No
kind of
big
let
deal.
things kind of go. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate it. How was the quality? Silas, how did we do tonight?
Oh yeah.
I think the
Ask the
quality
chat.
was good. I think we stick
Was this
with
best
this thing.
ever? Was this
I
best
think-
ever
I
quality?
think so.
Is Blurry
Let us
Horse
know in the
dead?
chat.
Is Blurry Horse dead?
People are saying good. People are saying good.
Wow.
I think we gotta keep it.
I think all
I
right.
like it.
All right. I think we need to come out. We never came out with a Blurry Horse disc or jersey.
We have
or-
to,
or
and then it's a
hoodie.
one and done.
I think we also might have to come up with an RIP Blurry Horse jersey and disc.
No, because it could come back. We
That
are
is-
on
oh
tour.
my God.
We go on tour, and it's gonna be blurry again. I
No, what's
promise
gonna
you, I
happen
promise.
is Yuli's gonna get that dongle or whatever that dongle issue that you had that one time.
Oh my gosh.
And then we're just gonna deal with that. So all right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you all. And we'll see you next week.